and you're sitting here saying you guys think you got better policies?
No, I think Kamala Harris.
This is a policy conversation.
Kamala Harris is. I mean, I think. Look, I think it was what Biden did in staying in was atrocious. He should have gotten out way earlier.
Yeah.
There's a story coming out now of like Ron Klain seeing him before the debate and realizing the guy was a mess. And I think Harris's campaign was also poorly run. I think that, nobody could tell what her policies were. Mark Cuban's going out there saying, we're going to get rid of... Right, I agree. Mark Cuban's coming out there saying like, oh, don't worry, she's not going to do any more of this antitrust stuff. On one hand, I don't want a billionaire coming out and speaking for my candidate.
Did you vote for her? Or did you sit that one out?
No, I voted for her.
You voted for Kamala. Why? Just because
Because
you're not Trump?
very rational.
No, but hold on. I want to know. What did you? I want to hold on. You voted. This is what drives me crazy about your side. You guys voted
for the lesser of two evils.
That is what policy were you going for? What do you think that she was going to do different? What can you possibly? I would rather have you sit that one out, Sam. Go ahead.
I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
She was not going to cut Social Security functioning. She's not going to cut the USDA. She's not going to cut the FDA. She's not going to lose us $500 billion worth of return on investment with the IRS. She's not going to cut the Bureau of Labor Statistics. She's not going to cut 300
investment
return on investment.
Theft, tax avoid.
Every dollar that you give to the IRS, we get 6 or 7 back. She's not going to cut the museum
Did you
and
just
library.
say that?
Google it. Every dollar spent at the IRS gets 6 back in returns.
My goodness.
They're anticipating the cuts from Doge. The cuts from Doge are going to cost our government $500 billion.
According to who?
Studies suggest.
All right, I undersold it a little bit.
According to who?
Okay, well, you can spend time attacking the people who do these calculations.
Do
you need me to tell you more about why?
What I'm just curious. Yeah, I'm just curious to
just
what
rando tariffs applied in a willy-nilly fashion that crash the economy.
So you don't think the tariffs that Trump is, and I get it. That's exactly the tariffs are exactly what America needs right now. Because let's just go to the border. What he did with the border with Mexico with the tariffs. What happened to fentanyl? What happened to all the deaths? What happened to all those illegals that are coming? What do you mean? He threatened them, and they went to war.
Fentanyl comes across the border at ports of entry. Fentanyl comes across the border, not in illegals crossing the desert. It comes in.
Oh, really? Coyotes really? Really?
It comes in. Yep. It comes in at ports of entry. Google that.
Sam, I don't need to Google when it's like
yes, you do.
You said you voted for someone. You're coming up with these policies. The worst pick ever, the biggest loss ever. She lost everything because your side. You're talking about
I don't even
people.
Know what
wait, guys, let me ask you a question. You're acting like your whole side was surprised that Biden wasn't there. Everybody knew, including you, he wasn't there at all. But you guys are like, he's just not Trump. The worst president in the history of the world. In this country 4 years because you guys were pretending that he was all there and we knew it. And who was making all the decisions? Who was making all the decisions? Who was signing all the shit? Who was signing off? How many times did you have to see Biden sitting there and they'd ask him a question and he'd go, oh, I can't because they told me I couldn't. He wasn't in charge.
Who?
Yeah, who was they? Come on, Sam. It's like the most devastating loss. The world, the country is over it. You guys aren't pivoting. Okay? And if you think the future is Gavin Newsom, AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Jasmine Crockett, you guys are doomed. Nothing is going to change. And Elon Musk, you think Elon Musk is a net positive or a net negative for society for what he's doing? And pointing out what the hell these people have been screwing us for all these years, and he's pointing out. You guys are mad at the person pointing out who robbed from you than the actual robber. That's the truth, bro. Yeah, he's a billionaire. You think he's doing it because he needs the money?
What fraud has he found?
What do you mean? How much fraud has he found?
Yeah, where's the person who is going to be indicted for fraud?
Well, what about the waste?
What waste?
Because it's not. Stop it, Sam.
What waste?
Sam.
They just cut the agency that provides $295 million to museums and libraries. You appreciate libraries, don't you? I know how much reading
but
is
Sam, you're
important to you and your
pinpointing the
kids.
one good thing that they probably
Okay,
did.
no, wait, I
what
can
about
keep
the
going.
waste of countries all around the world for
USAID
LGBTQ agendas in Rwanda or
the
something?
money you're talking about
Do you want money
is
going
a
to
fraction of a percentage. And if we wanted to get rid of that money, there is a way of doing it, and that is to have Congress vote and reverse what they authorized in the first place.
Sam.
But to have a billionaire come in and decide, based upon what his personal preferences are, that he's going to cut government in this way, I'm sorry, that's not democracy. It's not even remotely close to
He
it.
doesn't have the power to do anything.
why
He
do you-
makes a suggestion.
Why do you think
and then the
Americans voted for
administration will
this?
do it?
Why do you think Americans voted for
I don't
these
think
policies?
Americans heard the word Doge outside of it being some type of crypto
Cryptocurrency.
before.
Why do you
That's
think
not
think
true.
Americans voted for Trump?
Well, I think because they want change.
In what?
What were they not happy with?
I think inflation was a big part of it for them.
What else you think?
I think for a 90%
Yeah.
of his voters voted for Mitt Romney. I think there is the Republican
Romney.
Party wants to have
Okay.
tax cuts.
How do we get inflation? How does inflation
Can we stay in
happen?
2024?
Hang on
You
one
said
second,
inflation.
Tom.
What
Tom,
else?
give me 1 second. How does inflation happen?
Inflation can happen in a couple of different ways. Inflation can happen because you have too much monetary supply.
Yeah.
Inflation can happen in terms of both from a monetary supply level or a fiscal stimulus.
Right.
And inflation can also happen if you have a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic that completely screws up all of your logistics. And so you've got, shipping containers that usually cost $4,000 to ship, but now they cost $22,000 to get because they're in far-flung places because the
That was in
pandemic screwed up.
2021. That was in 2021.
Well, it reverberates through the thing. We
Right.
saw inflation dropping through 2024.
Sure.
We saw, we saw rate cuts on the table because we saw
Do you
inflation
think
dropping.
any of it was with, again, so those are the main two issues. You don't think anything else. So you mainly think it was inflation, and your second point was,
Well, I think in large part, we have structural problems in this country. And that's why we keep getting change elections where we keep going back and forth. And I would say those structural problems range from, I think a lot of them have to do with wealth inequality.
okay. So you think Democrats are better at helping wealth inequality or Republicans?
I think Democrats are marginally better.
Tell me, due to what policy?
Well, taxation helps. That's a big part. Strengthening labor. I think, during Biden,
Through
I have a lot of problems with
jobs,
Biden, but
where 6% of the workers work from home. Yeah. So
strengthening labor
Right.
strength in the marketplace helps with wealth inequality. I think antitrust goes a long way to wealth inequality because it literally is to break up the concentration
here's the
of
other
wealth.
question for you. So Trump's closed up the border, right? Where we are not getting, and like this, numbers have dropped dramatically.
Well,
We
I mean,
see-
if you go back and look and I don't necessarily agree with Biden doing this, but if you go back and look at the numbers starting in the summer of 2024, maybe a little bit before.
Stop it.
I'm sorry. Go look.
Stop.
Just put it
Oh
up
my-
there.
Oh,
Put
when
it
he,
up there.
when he started
Put
at
a
the
graph
end.
up.
but
But
this
listen,
is
I'm
the-
not in favor of
but
him
this
doing
is the
this.
spin
But he did
job.
do it.
But-
Wait, put up the graph
my God.
of.
So you mean
but
in
let
an
me just
election
make
year?
my
An
point.
election year,
Let
he
me
tried to
just-
slow down the
Let me
border?
just get
Come
through
on.
this,
Yeah,
and
he
then guys,
did it.
here's what I'd like to
I'm
do.
not in favor of it,
Here's
but he
I'd
did
like
it.
to do. I'd like to get through some stories, but I just want to close the knot here and move on because we're not going to make any
See if
progress
you can get a
here right now.
graph of that.
Rob, if you just want to show up graph on immigration from 2021, 22, 23, is that the chart you want to see? What do you want to see?
Let's see
make
the
you
one over the
see-
past. You
Show up
said he
how many
dropped
illegal
it
immigrants came
dramatically
here.
in January, and I'm suggesting
It
to you, if you
has.
look at the past 12 months.
No, it's the okay. Rob, do me a favor, find the chart on immediately when Trump comes in, what happens to illegal immigration in America. While you're doing that, here's a question for you. 10 million illegal immigrants came through the border in
No,
4
not the
years under
border.
Biden.
Way more.
You're saying it's more?
What's the number of undocumented immigrants you think we have in this country right now?
What I'm asking is those 4 years. How many do we have during those 4 years?
That came
That
across
came through, that we have, according to credible sources. What's the number you hear?
that are in the country now, or
that
actually
came
just
through
crossed?
illegally during those 4 years.
Oh, I would imagine it's probably close to like 5, 6, maybe to 10 million.
Let's say 10 million people.
Tom
Give or-
Homan said 10 million.
Let's say it's 10 million. Let's say it's 10 million, but give or take 2 million. Let's just say it's 10 million, the number, okay? Those 10 million people that are coming here, are they rich?
No, the vast majority of them, I would say,
Are
not.
poor, right? Okay, that they're coming here. Who does that benefit? They're going to need jobs, right? And what are they willing to work for?
Oh, I think they're going to get exploited without a doubt if that's where you're going with this.
So let me get this straight. So who do they benefit? Do they benefit larger corporations that get cheap labor?
They benefit, yeah.
So let me get
meat
this straight.
Processing plants.
Oh my
and
God!
Whatnot. Oh, that's why I want
Sam.
them to have documents.
Sam.
Great, let them come to the border. Give them documents so that they can get worker protections.
So then, if that's the case, you know what that validates? Joe Biden and the Democratic policies are better for the billionaires than Trump's are, because they brought in cheap labor, and that cheap labor helps who? Helps the rich. When
I am in favor of a path to citizenship that is much easier.
And by the way, those 10 million people that came here illegally, give or take.
And that was in that bill that they suggested in the fall of 2023 that Trump said he didn't want because he wanted to keep it as an issue.
Who do those 10 million people take jobs away from? Who do they take jobs away from?
I don't know that they take jobs away from that many.
Really?
No.
Really?
We are at, in 20 years ago, we were told that the lowest unemployment that it was possible to have with a functioning economy was what? Do you remember? It
2%?
was something like 6 to 8%. And now our unemployment is at 4%. And so
it was lower than that before.
I continue.
You're not answering the question, though. Who do those people take jobs away from?
I have answered it. I think largely they don't take jobs away from people.
Oh, they don't?
Of course they do.
Hang on. Perfect. I love what you just said. You think they don't take jobs away from anybody. Perfect. So if we go and we look at when China started trading, let me make the point. When China came through and was able to bring labor to us, 1971. It was called the ping pong agreement that they had, where, you know, we can send labor there, and labor at the time was 8 cents to 20 cents an hour, where for us minimum wage was $1.60. Then in 2001, when the Clinton policies helped China join the World Trade Organization, and at the time, minimum wage in China was 20 cents to 50 cents, depending on different regions, and for us was $5.15. We lost 6 million manufacturing jobs, give or take the next 7 years. Michigan, you got Indiana, you got all these other places. Where did those jobs go to? Who did they replace? Who lost those jobs? What happened to Detroit?
All that manufacturing went to China.
That's right. So what do you think these 10 million people that come here, who are they going to take jobs away from? Americans who are here legally. Those jobs are going to go to somebody that's cheap labor.
That was the movement of capital. Capital decided that it was cheaper for them to move to
I'm specifically talking about the last 4 years. So when you're saying labor is not going to be taken from people in America, that's the credibility you lose. That's where people in 2000... Rob, can you play the clip with Stephen A. Smith, who has been a staunch supporter of the Democratic Party for decades, and now Stephen A. Smith is being called as a member of MAGA. You know, Rob, we can't play the whole thing. Can you go to the main part? Do you know the main part or no?
I do. Right after he reads this is when he responds.
Okay, let's see what he says, Rob. Go for it.
This Owens, Sean Hannity, and other prominent voices from the right on this podcast as reasons for his premise. Here's a portion of what he wrote on MSNBC.com in an article titled ESPN Stephen A. Smith is a megaphone for MAGA propaganda. Jones says, quote, Stephen A. Smith's embrace of the MAGA movement and its influencers has only continued. In recent days, for example, he has spoken with right-wing commentators Ben Shapiro, Megyn Kelly, and Bill O'Reilly. You might be thinking that these were adversarial chats between a left-leaning centrist and a conservative. But to adroit listeners, they can come across more as conservatives in friendly discussion than anything else. Smith's overt politicism seems to fly in the face of ESPN's apparent effort in recent years to deter some of its talent from speaking on controversial political matters. Either way, the network's most recognizable host is now regularly platforming MAGA propaganda at will, end quote. Now, my team reached out to Jones to have a discussion about the article. I wanted to invite him on the show to talk with me one-on-one personally. I hope we get the opportunity to have that dialogue. He was busy. He didn't avoid the call or anything like that. There was no comment or anything like that. He didn't say anything. He was just very, very busy. We called it the last minute. No shade on him. That's why it didn't happen. But in the meantime, let me express to you what I think about what he wrote. I think that's the exact problem with the left. You see, if I don't agree with you, I must be MAGA. It must be the case. I'm platforming MAGA propaganda. Is that so? I don't view it that way. First of all, even though I lean left, particularly with how I vote with presidential elections, I want to emphasize that I've always been a centrist my entire life. I've never once described myself as a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a centrist. I'm a moderate. I don't trust either side. I'm not on one side or the other, hook, line, or sinker. You will see images or you'll hear me rattle off names of people who've been on this show. Yes, you see Ben Shapiro there. Yes, you see Bill O'Reilly there. Yes, I was recently on Megyn Kelly's show. Did you know I'm on News Nation with Chris Cuomo every week? Did you know that I just appeared with Jake Tapper on CNN? Do you know I've been on MSNBC on several occasions? Do you know?
You can pause.
Yes,
here.
Sean.
So, do you know what happens when a guy like Stephen A. Smith, he said he's always voted left when it comes down to presidential candidates that he has. So he's not a guy that voted for Trump, right? When a guy like him comes out and he says, what the hell is going on with the Democratic Party?
Is that what he's saying there?
Oh, he said it many. You must not follow what he
says.
says because he has said that nonstop the last 2 months, 3 months.
No, I don't follow what he says.
You should. He's actually very good. He's reasonable. It would be good for you to watch. I like his approach. I think he's a.
Do you guys identify as MAGA?
No.
Do
No.
any of you guys identify as MAGA?
Here's my
No
question.
way.
Can I ask a question?
I've been
Because he seems to
registered
think it's an
independent.
insult.
Yo, that's what I'm
I've
saying.
been
Make America
no.
great again. It shouldn't be if you want to make America great again, I'm all in. Call me MAGA all freaking day. Call it. Yeah.
I'm MAGA.
I'm MAGA.
I'm MAGA. I just want to make America
He
great.
seems to take it as an insult.
No,
That's
I
what
am
it struck
America
me.
first. I'm America first. I voted for Trump in 2016. I voted for him 2020. In 2022, when people were leaving to the DeSantis camp, I stayed on the Trump camp.
Yep.
I've never been off that camp. He's the right guy for America, and I've been a registered independent now for about 17
What
years.
do you think about these tariffs?
No, stay on this topic here with Stephen. A. We'll go
what
to
is the
tariffs
topic?
next.
That
We'll go
there's
to.
some
We'll go to.
guy
no,
from I've never heard of from
That just
I've
never
never
heard
heard
of.
of Stephen A.
Okay.
Smith.
No, the guy who wrote the
thank God.
something
If you
about
didn't hear
him.
yeah,
Stephen
but
A.
what do you
Smith,
think
I
about
would have a
Stephen A?
meltdown
You know
right
what
now.
he's been talking about lately with the Democratic Party
He's a
having issues.
centrist. I don't have to subscribe to what a centrist perspective. I mean, he's a centrist like Gavin Newsom is a centrist.
Gavin Newsom
Gavin
is
Newsom's
a
a
centrist.
centrist.
Gavin Newsom is saying the exact same thing as Stephen A.
'Cause he
Smith.
has to.
Because he
Now
realizes
today.
progressive policies have been a disaster.
He has to
Okay,
now.
I mean,
Maybe it's
so
because-
He's a centrist
they
as of
can
a
all
week
have
ago when
each
he
other
realized
as far as
progressiveness
I'm
is
concerned.
horrible.
Maybe it's
Come on,
because
Sam.
Maybe it's like
I
a-
just you don't understand. You guys
Welcome
don't seem
to
to understand.
Bizarro World.
I have a set of politics. I don't care what Stephen A. Smith does. I don't care what Gavin Newsom does.
Yeah.
I don't care.
So you're rigid. You're not changing anything.
It's not a question of I'm rigid and I'm not changing anything. Like there are specifics. Like over time, I have had a different perspective on the deficit over the past 20 years and understood it in
But
a
you
different
become
way.
more liberal over the last 20 years. You become more of a leftist and progressive.
You got to
in the
be
last
more
20 years.
I would
malleable.
say
You got to
that
be more
to a certain
malleable,
extent,
buddy.
I mean, to the extent, like I don't, you guys have these like labels that you like to use, and there's some
Like
type of
tax
gradation.
avoider, yeah.
But
Labels.
I've
We
always
like
been
labels like
I've
tax
always been
avoiders.
about where I am in terms of taxation. But I am for a little bit more decommodification probably than I was 20 years
so
ago.
and all I'm saying here before we go, look, I'm going to go to the audience. Audience, we're coming to you here in a second to go through some of the stories here.
Why, wait, we're gonna talk about tariffs?
We're going to
We're
talk
definitely
about
gonna talk about
whatever stories we go through. But the one thing we did learn here with you is America grew up the last 4 years.
Adam?
Sorry about that.
America grew up the last 4 years. Many Democrats grew up. Every state became more Republican because of the horrible policies on the left, whether it was how they handled COVID, what they did with our kids, how they handled people that didn't want to take the vaccine, and people were fed up. And they voted for a guy who had already been president for 4 years. So it's not like they said they want something new. They said, no, we want to go back to the guy previous to that guy. That is the biggest black eye to Obama, to Kamala, to Democrats, to everybody on the left, when they went back to the guy that they said they didn't want 4 years later, saying, It's like an ex coming back and saying, babe, I messed up. I should have never gone with the other guy. You were my guy. Or guy, babe, I screwed up. I should have never left you for the other girl. I'm such a dummy. Please, Trump, come back. That's what America did. And a guy like you who's
I'm
sitting
not a
here
big
saying,
fan of Obama's, and I'm not a big fan of Harris's either.
but the point is you still haven't graduated Sanders. That's like 7th grade. The people that follow Sanders and AOC are in 7th grade, 8th grade. Their heroes are in high school. Your philosophies are popular in high schools, not with adults. The policies that you support are
They were
high
not
school
popular
policies.
when I was in high school.
Oh, are you kidding me? Karl Marx was a hero in kids that went to high school because teachers were feeding the Karl Marx stuff.
Well, I went to high school. Ronald Reagan was president. I can assure you that, and the wall still existed, and there was fear of communism, and that socialism was barely ever expressed.
You're a step away from communism. Like socialism is a step away from communism. That's kind of where you are. You're right there saying, guys, I don't want to fully publicly say I'm a communist. I'll stay in this room.
I'm not.
Because
I'm
it's
not,
like
I'm not
MAGA.
even. I don't even identify as a
go,
socialist either.
You're
there
a
are some
progressive,
things,
though.
I would say I'm a progressive. I
So
mean,
what's
90% is
right
socialist.
of progressive? What's left of progressive? I know you're not big on labels, but just humor me. What's right
I mean,
and
I
left
think,
of being a
I'm
progressive?
probably a social democrat. So I would say there is a certain amount of society where I believe we do not need the private market to deliver it, and is less efficient. So when it comes to health insurance, we have already in this country 1/3, maybe a little more actually, on some form of government health insurance. The VA is actually government health care. The doctors work for the government. And that is actually gets very, very high
And
marks.
all I hear is good things about the VA.
The VA
everybody
gets
loves the
high
VA.
marks?
No,
The
no.
healthcare does, yeah.
VA Vinny,
time
you
out,
go to the
time
VA.
out.
From who?
That's a 100% false.
From
I
the
get
dead guys.
the worst service from the VA. And I'm a veteran and he's a veteran. He doesn't go to the VA. I go to the VA. I called yesterday just to make an example in our work area. I called. Nobody's picking up the phone for me to get an appointment. Zero. And when you go there, it's the most depressing thing.
But the
So
good
trust
news
me.
is when you go to like get your to the DMV, the driver's license, that's great service,
that's
right?
that's the best. Yeah, that's the best.
Everyone
No, the
loves
VA,
that.
yeah, Sam, the VA is
the
not good.
states run the DMVs,
really
but
liking
my
today's
experience at the
podcast.
DMV is not that bad.
You wanna
But
go to
Respectfully,
what's
there's
that?
one
I'm
thing
gonna
you
go to
said.
tariffs.
There's one thing you
that?
said.
I'm
You
gonna go
said
to
the
tariffs.
private market is less efficient. We can look at 250 years of government and everything we've got here. I just can't get
What's the
past that. And if
administrative
that's
cost for
And
Medicare?
if that's your, if
What's the
that's your
administrative cost for
feeling-
Medicare?
Hang on. If that's your one of your foundational beliefs that the private markets will be less efficient, then it's no wonder you're where you are. I'm not going to pick on it. If that's your foundational
What
belief,
is the
then
administrative cost for Medicare?
Tell us.
2 to 3 cents of every dollar in Medicare is spent on administrative costs. In the private health
administrative
insurance,
defined as what? You got to be careful. I got to be careful when I hear things like that because guess what? You go back and you look at, well, I was only counting this.
The rest
I'm
of
not
the-
counting this. It's like the same way.
you have a dollar.
Same way your side would count
98
unemployment,
to
then come out
90
later and readjust all the stats.
97 to 98 cents actually goes to paying Medicare providers, doctors,
We're going to move on.
labs, whatnot.
We're going to
But
move on
in-
because
in
your
private
core
health
tenet,
answer the question,
your core
Tom.
tenet that the private
in private
markets
health
are
insurance,
less efficient
it is
wrong.
17
And if that's your
cents on every
foundation,
dollar.
we can't discuss
because they're
anything.
paying for advertising, they're paying for shareholder value, et cetera, et cetera. So for every dollar you spend, and on top of which, anybody who has private health insurance who deals with it themselves knows it's like having a second job, just to either get reimbursed or you get to figure out every year when you re-sign up, is my doctor in or out of the program? It's a mess. It's a disaster.
Medicare
it is the
is
most
so
inefficient
good and
possible.
so wonderful.
People
Why
love
was
Medicare.
MedSup and Medicare Advantage invented? It's so good, Medicare.
Because
It's
the
everything
Republicans
for you.
wanted to privatize it, and
Oh,
it is
really? I don't
widely
get drug
understood
benefits.
That
Okay.
that Medicare Advantage is the worst part of Medicare, and people get sucked into it, and they find out that they've been hoodwinked. I mean, these are all easily found data points.
Sam, did you fly here?
Yeah.
Did you go through TSA? Did you go through TSA pre-check? Did you go through Clear? What'd you go through?
On the way here, my TSA pre-check was not on the thing, so I just went
It's
through.
messed up. You paid for it though, right?
Yeah, it was $60 for the TSA.
No, I'm saying, but you pay, I think, it was like a $500 or $100 for 5 years for a TSA pre-check.
TSA pre-check, I think, is $65 for 5 years.
That's amazing. It's a great deal. Why don't you do Clear?
I don't want to do a private company.
TSA pre-check is basically like a public-private partnership.
No,
where
TSA
you pay a little bit more.
pre-check is TSA
But this-
pre-check
you
is
pay
the government.
You pay a
I'm
little
not
bit
gonna give-
more.
Adam,
I'm not going to
you
give
have to
my
know
biometrics
he
to Clear.
looks at private companies and he frowns upon private companies.
Is that what's
and
going
private
on?
enterprise. That's all it is.
Oh, I didn't fully
He
understand.
said,
Okay.
"I'm not going to give my money to a private company."
And
so just so you know,
meanwhile,
and that's
No,
just
I wanna-
own
that-
and run
that is
one.
Yeah. So let's go to the next
So,
story with
but
terrorists.
can we stay there for a second, please? You don't want to give money to a private company, but you are a private
Well, I
company.
don't
You're
want to
trying to
give
make
my
money.
biometric information to a private company.
You're using a site.
Or your dollars.
What about just
No, I
private
don't like-
companies in
I'm
general?
happily fine with TSA
Guys,
pre-check.
we already got
With
it.
TSA
I'm moving.
let's
Adam,
move on.
Okay, I'm learning.
I'm moving on.
I'm
No, I
learning.
already learned. I understand.
gotcha,
It's
gotcha.
great. So we know what the argument is.
Progressive.
We want 1 million people to sport the Future Looks Bright gear. We are getting very close to it. We got something unique that came in. Just so you guys know, I only wear the Valuetainment wallet. This is all I have. I think the Adam's the same as well. But we got these new wallets, okay, that are RFID protected wallets to have with different Future Looks Bright signs on it. Rob, if you can go through, we got the red one, we got the black one. If you can go to the next, all the colors so they can see it, beige, blue, gray, brown, you name it. We have it here. Anybody that places an order with these RFID wallets, you're going to get a leather keychain added to it with the Valuetainment logo design on it. Again, you sport the brand, you follow what we do. If you believe like we do that the future looks bright, go sport the gear. These will not last a long time. Just like the leather backpack didn't on Tuesday, that thing went in no time. Go place your order. Carry your wallet with this RFID wallet protector. Future looks bright. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.